Tell me about dinner that night.
Well, that night, actually, Ralph got back in the boat, and he fished. We were taking turns. He fished now.
He said, Stu, your turn to Paul?
Yeah, yeah. No, he didn't say that, but we knew.
Yeah, sure.
And he was so full of tarpon slime, he smelled like a cormorant. I had to keep him downwind all the time. I mean, of course, he was wrapped around that fish. He was completely slimed. That night at dinner, neither one of us ever said anything about that. Oh, when Ralph got back in the boat, the only thing he did say, "Why did you run me over?" And I said, "Ralph, I didn't do it on purpose."
Right.
I was trying to, and I explained it to him. Well, we didn't say a thing about that catch that night at dinner. It never came into our conversation. The next day, out there all day, we each caught a couple of nice fish. And that night at dinner, Ralph said, "How much do you think that fish really weighed?" And I said, "Ralph," and I took a paper napkin, tore it in half, threw half across the table to him with a pencil that was on the table. I said, "You write down what you think it weighed, and I'll write down what I think it weighed, so we don't influence each other." He said, "Stu, you've probably seen as many big tarpon as anybody in the world." I said, "Well, maybe, but you have too." So he wrote down 230 with a plus sign. I wrote down 230 PLUS. So we were both pretty close on the side, and he was on that fish, wrapped around that fish.
You guys, well,
and that was on 12-pound class tippet. If he had used my gaff either time, it would never come out of him. Had a barb, and a big bite. It would have gone completely through the width of that fish.